Hey everybody, Ryan Grant here and welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm basically going to be going over one lesson that has helped 2x the speed of my progress over the past couple of years. Now, I'm absolutely fuming because I just filmed this video and I accidentally filmed it on the slow-mo camera. I want to introduce myself to you guys. So, my name is Ryan, I'm 19 years old, and over the past 4 years, I have gained over 27 kilos, taking myself from this in 2021 to this in 2025, and now I'm on a mission to help as many men as possible with their weight and muscle gain struggles and help them do things in a smooth manner. And that's why I've got a free community, which is going to be the top link in the description if you want my help beyond these YouTube videos. Boring, I know, I don't want to bore you, so let's get into this one lesson because that is why you are here, right? So the one lesson that I wish I learnt sooner, I really wish I learnt this sooner because I reckon I'll be a lot bigger than I am now if I learnt this sooner. So muscle growth isn't necessarily about how heavy you lift, but it's about how heavy you can make a weight feel, right? This is something that once you realize it and once you actually know what to do instead of having a warped mindset around muscle growth, it can genuinely help you, just grow that fast. So I just want to start off this point by saying, by talking about the common misconception, right? So many people think more weight leads to more muscle growth. And as much as obviously you need to, over time, progress the weight of the resistance you place against your muscle in order to shock the muscle so it can further grow, what is that without actually being able to fatigue your muscle effectively, right? As I'm saying, yes, lifting heavy is important, but if you can't make the weight feel heavy against your muscle and you're not performing the exercise effectively, you're not doing the technique right, you're not going slow and you're just going for the weight and the ego, then that's not going to be effective. It's just simply not. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. So when I went up to my cousin's around 2 years ago, I did a back session with him, and it completely blew me away with how little weight he made me use, but how messed up he made my back, right? And this just puts it all into perspective how muscle growth isn't about how heavy you lift, it's about how heavy you can make the weight feel. So he put me on a lat pull down and he put the pin on 30 kilos, which is like the second or the third stack on a lat pull down. And I was thinking in my head, you can't be serious, right? But because he's so good at making the weight feel so heavy, there's no need to go heavy. So at this light weight, my back had never been more ruined, and that was because I was doing the right things. I was performing the exercise correctly. I was pausing it at the bottom. I was keeping a strict position. I was controlling the weight really slowly. I was really squeezing my lats. I was doing everything correctly. Therefore, the weight felt super heavy, even though it was only 30 kilos. And that set, because of how efficient I performed the exercise to make the weight feel heavy, that is so much more effective than someone ego lifting and doing 70 kilos on a lat pull down and not doing any of that, like, not performing the exercise correctly, etc. Because what is muscle, lifting heavy for muscle growth without actually performing the exercise right? Because we perform exercises to grow muscle, and if we can't perform them correctly, then it's not going to help us in our pursuit for muscle growth because we're not doing it correctly. Therefore, how do we think that we can grow if we're not doing what we're meant to do correctly? It's like, for example, if you play a video game but you don't use the correct controls, then you're not going to get good at the game because you're not doing it correctly. It's the exact same thing with the gym. If you don't perform exercises correctly, and you just do what you want, do it for your ego, and you lift heavy without considering the things that are important for muscle growth, such as the weight, control of the reps, squeezing the muscle, strict position, then you're not going to grow muscle. It's as simple as that. And I want to keep this video as short as possible because there is not much more to say about this. However, one other thing I want to say about this is if you ask every single bodybuilder, right, all of the Mr. Olympias, right, they will say that weight isn't the most important thing, but how heavy you can make the weight feel on your muscle is. Because muscle growth happens when we successfully stimulate our muscle, and we stimulate our muscle through taking it, through training with a specific intensity, and fatiguing our muscle to a point of near failure or to failure. Therefore, we can break down our muscle fibers, and then when we have recovery days, our muscles basically grow back bigger and stronger in order to adapt, right? And in order to actually have this process to happen, we need to be able to target our muscle effectively. So, in turn, if we're just tossing around heavy weight without a care in the world, not only will we be risking injury, but we won't be stimulating our muscle to a point of muscular hypertrophy, so this process of muscle growth can't happen. However, if we focus on form, time under tension, controlling the weight, squeezing the muscle properly, improving mind muscle connection as we go, not letting our ego get to us and actually go a little bit lighter and master form and make the weight feel heavier, then that is how we're going to get better, right? And if you actually look at it from a meta perspective, from an outside perspective looking in, if one can make their muscle completely fucked on a really light weight, that's actually the best possible thing because they've got more room for progression, right? If someone was on a T-bar row machine, I don't know, or bench press, and they had the bloody bar like just stacked with weights and they couldn't add any more on, then there's not much more room for progression with the weight. However, if they completely strip the bar down to like not much weight on there at all and they're able to actually get more out of that, then there's more weight, there's more room for more weight to go on, therefore there's more margin for gain. So I really hope that makes sense because that is something that has really helped me. And one final thing that I want to go over is an example with me, right? So my new gym, right, when I joined it, the lat pull down machine in my gym is relatively light, right? I see a lot of guys in there full stacking it, going 70 kilos. It only goes up to 70 kilos, but it is very, very light. It's not 70 kilos how 70 kilos would normally feel in a machine, right? When I first got in the gym, this was around 2 years ago. I didn't have much experience. I didn't have as much knowledge as I do now. My form wasn't as great. My training wasn't as effective. I was full stacking it like there was no tomorrow, and because it felt light and I wasn't necessarily doing the exercise properly. However, fast forward 2 years later, and I've gone from 70 kilos, not up, back to 50, 55 kilos, right? And the reason, and as a matter of fact, even though I have gone back in weight, I'm actually getting more out of my sets because I'm able to train at better intensity. My form is better. My technique is better. My mind muscle connection is better. So I'm actually getting more out of it than I was when I was lifting heavier back in the day. So that just proves muscle growth isn't necessarily about how heavy you lift. It's about how heavy you can make the weight feel. And if you can progressively overload and slowly get heavier with this effective training, with the ability to actually make the weight feel ridiculously heavy, then that is how you grow muscle. So that is the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching and I really appreciate your time. If you, as I said at the beginning of the video, want help beyond these YouTube videos, then I've got a community, free community. It's going to be the top link in the description. I'd absolutely love to welcome you in there. It would be an absolute pleasure to be able to help you and introduce you to the guys. We've got 200 plus people in there, so it's a pretty stacked community and we're only looking to make it bigger and bigger and bigger, get more people on the same journey united together. But if you just want to stay on the YouTube channel, that's completely fine. That's up to you, obviously. But if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, a little comment down below potentially. And if you want to stay around on this YouTube channel, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So if you do subscribe, then it would mean a lot to me that I can help one more person through my YouTube videos 3 times a week. And that keeps me going, of course. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.